We are all familiar with the story of this week's Parsha. 12 spies go out to check out the land of Israel. 10 come back with a negative report. So dire was their report that the entire Jewish population break out in cries and tears of fear. And so much so that our sages tell us that because the Jews cried that night for naught, God would give the Jewish people, and did give the Jewish people, ample cause and ample reason to cry in future generations. That night was the 9th of Av, night upon which the two Batei Mikdash, the two temples, were destroyed, and many other calamitous events in history took place. And the Yalkut Shimoni asks a very interesting question. How was this disseminated? How was the negativity disseminated? They didn't have WhatsApp broadcast groups that they were able to send out to everyone. They didn't have megaphones that they were able to communicate to the vast population of 3 million of the Jewish people. How did they communicate it? And says the Yalkut Shimoni that the 10 spies actually didn't broadcast it broadly. What they did was something much more pernicious. They went home and they looked their children and their spouses in the eye and they said, "Oi, what lies ahead of us in the land of Canaan? Oi, my children and your children and grandchildren, what terrible persecution you're going to experience at the hands of the inhabitants there. What a terrible future awaits all of you." And when the father of the household communicated that, the wife and the children burst out crying. And the din, the noise of the crying from their household reached their neighbors. And when the neighbors heard the crying, they broke out in tears crying, perhaps not for anything that they understood, but just because the neighbors are crying. And then that communicated to their neighbors and so on and so forth. Says the Yalkut Shimoni, that was how it was communicated. By a father, the head of the household, communicating fear, removing hope, removing feelings of a bright future from the family. That's how it was communicated, first to the family, then beyond that. My friends, I think it is such a vital and important message. Now, over the past week, we've certainly heard of an increase in numbers in Gauteng. Some of us might know people who have it. And our children, our households, are uncertain with these times. They're uncertain. You walk outside and everybody's wearing face masks. It's very different. We as the parents, we as the adults in the room, we as the heads of our household, need to convey a message of hope, not of fear, of responsibility, yes, but at the same time of a belief that we shall get through this, that this too shall pass, that we shall indeed overcome. To convey a message not of fear, but of hope, of aspirations. It's a message that needs to be conveyed as far as the health implications that we are all facing and the restrictions that we need to take in order to protect ourselves. We also need to make sure that we do not convey to our children the very real fears that we have from a financial point of view, of the impact that this is having on our own pockets and our own households. And yes, it might mean that we have to tighten our belts, and the kids also need to be aware of that. But at the same time, we cannot afford to convey fear to our children. It has to be hope. Yes, we're going through difficult times, but this too shall pass, as I said. We shall overcome. We will be able to see a brighter side of this. We as the adults, we as the leaders of our homes, need to be not the purveyor of fear, but to be those who are peddling hope, happiness, joy, anticipation for the future, not fear of the present. That's the message of the Medaglim, that's the message of the spies. We have to communicate hope, we have to communicate joy, we have to communicate positivity. And when we are positive, when we are hopeful, our children feel that. And it will resonate and emanate from our homes to the people around us. And through hope, through joy, through perseverance, and indeed responsibility, we will come through this time strengthened, joyous, and emboldened. Good Shabbos.